In the small, quiet town of Willowbrook, the old mansion on the hill stood as a reminder of a tragedy that had taken place decades ago. The townsfolk called it the Cursed Wedding House, where an event had occurred that no one could forget. Clara Monroe was the town's most beautiful and beloved young woman, set to marry the man of her dreams, Henry Westwood. The day of the wedding was perfect until it wasn't. As the church bells rang, signaling the start of the ceremony, Clara was found dead in her bridal gown, her face twisted in terror, clutching a withered bouquet. The cause of death was never determined, and the wedding became a legend of sorrow and mystery. Years passed, but the memory of Clara's death lingered. The mansion was abandoned, left to decay, but some claim that Clara's spirit still roamed the halls, forever in search of the wedding that would never be. The story of Clara Monroe had faded into the background of Willowbrook's history until one day, the old mansion was bought by a young couple, Emily and James Carter. They were drawn to its grandeur and its history, unaware of the tragedy that had occurred there. As they moved in, the townsfolk whispered among themselves, warning them of the curse that still haunted the mansion. But the Carters paid no heed, dismissing the tales as mere superstition. However, it wasn't long before strange things began to happen. Emily, who was planning her own wedding, began to feel an eerie connection to the house. She found herself dreaming of a bride in a white gown, her face obscured by a veil, wandering the mansion's halls. The dream bride seemed to be searching for something or someone. One evening, while exploring the attic, Emily discovered an old, dusty trunk. Inside, she found a wedding dress, yellowed with age, and a lace veil. As she held the veil up to the light, a chill ran down her spine. It was beautiful yet ominous, as if it held a dark secret. That night, Emily had the dream again, but this time it was different. The bride was closer, her face almost visible. Emily could feel her sorrow and longing, as if the bride was trying to communicate something to her. She woke up in a cold sweat, the veil lying across her bed, though she was certain she had left it in the attic. James tried to comfort her, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that the bride was real, that she was somehow connected to the mansion and to her. The following days were filled with unease. Emily began to hear soft weeping at night, coming from the room that had once been Clara's. The sound was faint, but it grew louder each night, filling Emily with a deep sense of dread. One morning, as she was preparing for her day, Emily noticed something strange in the mirror. For a brief moment, her reflection was not her own, but that of a woman in a bridal gown, her eyes filled with tears. Emily blinked and the vision was gone, but the fear remained. Emily's health began to deteriorate. She grew pale, her energy sapped by the constant nightmares and the growing presence of the bride. James was worried, but no doctor could find anything physically wrong with her. Determined to find answers, Emily began researching the mansion's history. She visited the town library and spoke with the older residents, piecing together the story of Clara Monroe. In the library, she stumbled upon an old portrait of Clara. The resemblance between Clara and the figure in her dreams was undeniable. As Emily stared at the portrait, she felt a strange connection to Clara, as if the dead bride was trying to reach out to her from beyond the grave. That night, the dreams intensified. Clara's face was now clear, her eyes hollow and filled with sorrow. She reached out to Emily, whispering, "Help me, ... double quotes." Emily's connection to Clara grew stronger, and the haunting escalated. Objects in the house began to move on their own, lights flickered, and the sound of footsteps echoed through the empty hallways. The weeping at night turned into anguished cries, pleading for help. James tried to stay rational, but even he couldn't deny that something was terribly wrong. The house felt alive with a malevolent energy, and Emily was at the center of it. One night, as Emily walked through the house in a trance, she found herself in the old chapel where Clara was supposed to be married. The air was thick with sadness, and Emily could feel Clara's presence as if she were standing beside her. "Why can't you rest?" Emily whispered, her voice trembling. In response, a gust of wind blew through the chapel, extinguishing the candles and plunging the room into darkness. Desperate, Emily sought the help of a local historian who had studied the mansion's past. He revealed that Clara's death was not an accident. There were rumors that she had been murdered on her wedding day, though no one had ever been brought to justice. The historian warned Emily that Clara's spirit was trapped in the mansion, bound by the unfinished business of her untimely death. Clara would not rest until her killer was revealed, and the curse lifted. Emily felt a chill as she realized that Clara's spirit was using her to solve the mystery of her death. But as she delved deeper, she also realized that uncovering the truth could put her own life in danger. The nights grew more intense, with Clara's spirit becoming increasingly desperate. The weeping turned to screams, and the mansion itself seemed to react to Clara's anguish. Doors slammed shut, windows shattered, and shadows danced on the walls. Emily knew she had to act before it was too late. She confronted the spirit in the chapel, demanding to know the truth. Clara appeared before her, a spectral figure in a tattered bridal gown, her face pale and gaunt. Through tears, Clara revealed the truth. On the day of her wedding, she had discovered that her fiancé, Henry, had been unfaithful. In a fit of rage, he had pushed her down the stairs, killing her instantly. He had then staged her death as a tragic accident to cover up his crime. Clara's spirit had been trapped in the mansion ever since, unable to move on until her story was told and justice was served. Emily was horrified by the revelation, but she knew what she had to do. She shared Clara's story with the town, exposing the dark secret that had been hidden for so long. The townspeople were shocked, but they believed her, knowing that the mansion had always been cursed. Henry Westwood had long since passed away, but his descendants still lived in Willowbrook. Emily confronted them, demanding that they acknowledge the truth and make amends for the sins of their ancestor. Reluctantly, they agreed, and a proper memorial was held for Clara. Her story was finally told, and the mansion was cleansed of its dark past. With the truth revealed, Clara's spirit appeared to Emily one last time. The mansion was no longer filled with the oppressive darkness, and the air felt lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted. Clara thanked Emily for her help, her form now peaceful and serene. As the first light of dawn broke through the chapel windows, Clara's spirit began to fade, finally at peace. Emily watched as Clara disappeared into the light, leaving behind only the faint scent of roses and the sound of distant wedding bells. The mansion, once cursed and abandoned, was now a place of peace. Emily and James decided to stay, turning the mansion into a bed and breakfast where guests could learn about its history and the story of the dead bride. The nightmare stopped, and the mansion's halls were filled with laughter and life once more. Emily had found a new purpose, ensuring that Clara's story was never forgotten. But sometimes, late at night, when the wind blew just right, Emily would catch a glimpse of Clara's spirit, a smile on her face as she danced in the moonlight, forever free from the pain that had once bound her. Years passed, and the mansion became a beloved part of Willowbrook, known for its beauty and the legend of the dead bride. People from all over came to see the place where love and tragedy had intertwined. Emily and James grew old together, their love story a stark contrast to the one that had once haunted the mansion. They had a daughter, whom they named Clara, in honor of the bride who had changed their lives. And though the mansion was now a place of joy, the story of Clara Monroe, the dead bride, remained. It was a tale of love, betrayal, and redemption, a reminder that even in death, some spirits cannot rest until justice is served.